Hi, this is Suhaila, and this is Grow With Me by Suhaila, the podcast. And this is season 2, episode 6. And the name of this episode is called Gifted But Not Healed. Let's get into it. So a friend of mine actually asked me to speak about this on my podcast. She was like, "Ooh, you need to do an episode on this." This is my first time getting a request. Actually, it's not the first time of me getting a request. I've had people ask me to talk about a lot of things on my podcast. But it has to be intuitive to me. For me, it has to feel upon me. It has to be something that I could talk about mostly fluidly, even with all of my ums and ahs that I normally have in each episode. And this is close to that. And I understand the need for it and something that we are seeing as well in the world. And it's that we have to understand that within ourselves and with other people, especially when we start to do healing work and therapy work and things like that, and within ourselves, that being spiritual, being a prayerful person, being a successful person, being highly gifted. Some people are psychic. Some people can do all kinds of things. You know, they could be channelers. If you're into tarot reading, if you're into people praying for you, they can be pastors. They can be guidance counselors. They can be everything. They can be Reiki healers. They can heal you, or they can help you heal, but does not mean that they are healed. It does not mean because you have spiritual gifts, because you have the ability to be an amazing orator, oral storyteller, as a pastor, as a whatever. You can even be gifted with your hands if you know what Reiki is and energy healing, and you can give readings if you're psychic and a channeler and things like this. It does not mean that you're healed. You can know how to manifest to the sky and back. You can know how to become a millionaire. You can be successful and at the top of your field. It does not mean that you're healed or that you're on the healing journey. So for me, for a long time, because I have been pushed by pain, I say that quote all the time. I was pushed by pain until I was pulled by vision, which I got from Michael Beckwith, that saying. And for a long time, of course, my pain was pushing me towards the healing that I needed, my sense of suffering, my sense of injustice in the world, my sense of things being unfair or whatever. Life always seemed to happening to me as opposed to me happening to life, right? Me deciding and imprinting what I want my life to look like and stepping into that. Even if it's not always my perfect picture, but it's closer and it's better than me being swung all about than life just having its way with me and doing every little thing with me. And every time I walk out the door and every conversation and every traffic jam and every time I'm stuck on the subway, I'm having a response that is in complete disproportion of the thing that's actually happening. That's how I knew for me that something needed to shift. And this was long before I knew what healing was. I remember once having a response to an ex-boyfriend that was so out of proportion to whatever the hell was happening with us. He was a new boyfriend. He wanted to be with me forever. We moved very, very quickly. He was an actual therapist or trained in therapy. And now that I think about it, he was probably a narcissist, the way how quickly it moved, the love bombing, all of this stuff. Like within 6 months, within a few weeks, we were like, after the first date, we were a couple. The first date was like 8 hours in Central Park. And after that, we became a couple fast and furious. He was a young father. He had 2 children. One was very young, which I didn't know at the time of the date. I probably wouldn't have dated him if I realized how young his son was when I met him. I misheard, or I made my mind mishear. I thought he said his son was 2 years old, which is still very young, but he was actually 2 months old. Sorry, it's funny now. But I remember that relationship moving fast and furiously, meaning we were a couple very, very quickly. And he wanted to do all the couple things. Like it was like he wanted to paint this picture. Like I remember he even wanted to take pictures, like physical pictures, like a photo shoot, like how families do for holidays or Christmas cards, except for number 1, we weren't a family. Number 2, there was no holiday. And number 3, we were a brand new couple. But he just wanted to see, he seemed like he had been changing his life around to such a degree that he wanted all of the things that fitted. I even wrote about him in my first book when I was talking about brands and people who step into their purpose. because he was someone I remember, he always wanted this particular Lexus at the time. Lexus was the hot car at the time. And he wanted it because it's the car that doctors had. And I wrote about that in my book, Awaken the Brand by Suhaila. Unleash your personal potential through building your brand, which is my first book. And I'm working on my second now. But so now that I think about it, he was just trying to paint some picture of a life. He was living in Brooklyn at the time when I met him, in a loft and then a brownstone. And then he bought his first house, like in another part of upstate or New Jersey. I can't even remember Connecticut or something. So he was upwardly mobile, if you will. But prior to all of this, in the beginning of our relationship, and then when we started to have problems very quickly, I just remember having a response that was completely out of proportion to what was actually not what was happening in the relationship, because we were a firm couple, whatever that means. I remember he wanted to do things like, he just had this whole picture of like, he wanted to wake up in the morning and take walks, like, and go get coffee, like on a Saturday morning, to be that couple holding hands in Brooklyn. This is like completely nothing that I'm about. Nothing that I'm about. I'm an early riser, and I'm an early riser because I have a routine, even back then. And my routine back then was running. Actually, I learned to jog and run with him. We started running together. Actually, that's when I first started to jog because of him. And I fell in love with running after that. But he would want to do these things that were completely opposite of anything that I was about. I liked my me time. Even if I'm in a relationship, I like my me time. I like, at that time, I had a very rigorous and exciting career in the music industry. So I was, on the weekends, I wanted to do what women do, get the hair done, get the nails done, do my laundry. But he just wanted this whole other kind of lifestyle. So in the practical sense, the everyday sense, we were a solid couple. We were living a very integrated life. I was integrated in his life. He was integrated in my life with my family and, with me mostly, even without my family. So we were very much a couple, and I liked him. And I guess I might thought I loved him. I now know I liked him. But I knew that my feelings were not nearly as strong as they could be, that they had been even with my first boyfriend prior to him, who I was with from the time I was 21 to 28. So I knew what love felt like by then. And even if the relationships weren't perfect, I knew what a certain kind of love felt like. So I think with him, maybe me too, I fell in love with the idea of what he was presenting and wanted so quickly. I have no idea, but I knew for sure that my feelings were not as deep as his, as what he wanted them to be, what I even wanted them to be. It was more a thought than it was a feeling. The only feeling was trauma. The only feeling was the fear of abandonment. The only feeling was, I have to make this work and pour into him, and all of these things that just kind of make me want to gag now, because I just know that it was coming from such a wounded place, such an abandoned place, where I was trying to, meaning my abandoned self, from when I was a child, abandonment issues and things like this. I just wanted, I don't even know. I don't know, but I know that relationship was not one of what I now would describe as love, but it still is the thing that got me to love in other places for myself, and eventually in relationships that were, first of all, more a better fit for me, lifestyle-wise, and just interaction-wise, and values-wise, and just all the things-wise, but a better place for self-love as well. So I knew that even though it seemed like a complete picture of a relationship, I knew that my feelings weren't normal when he did something and my response was so out of proportion, meaning my internal response to it. It didn't match my feelings for him. So in that moment, it was weird. I can't even describe this moment, but in that moment, as much as I knew we had the quote unquote, I don't want to even use perfect, but I'm just going to use it because I don't even have another word, but it was not perfect. But even to the outside world, I don't think people thought it was perfect. In fact, recently my sister was reminded that I used to date this guy that I'm talking about. And she was like, Lord have mercy. She was just like, what were you going through? She's like, I forgot about him. So even if I thought it was cute, I don't think anybody else thought. I think most people were like, what is Suhaila doing with him? We were not a match. We were not. He was not. I don't want to downplay him, and I don't want to talk down towards him. But I think that whatever even perception I had, I even remember my other sister, because I met him through a guy that my sister was dating, my other sister. These are both my older sisters. And I had gone to pick her up in my little car. I had a little Mercedes back then, my first Mercedes. I was in the music industry. I thought I was so cute. And I went to pick my sister up at this guy's loft in Brooklyn. And he was like a restaurant owner or something. So I met him, the one I started dating, at that guy's house, that man's house. So even later when I told my sister, I'm sorry, this is just so crazy to think about. But even when I told my sister, okay, I'm going on a date with him, and then after I went with a date, that was like, I think I found the one. Oh my God, it makes me cringe to even think that I said that, but I'm having memories that I did because I was following his lead, and that's how he was. He wrote me love letters, physical love letters, but I remember her even being like, really? Really? Like, you going on a date with him, and then really? Like, you're dating him? Like, really? So it's funny now because I don't know what I was doing, but I don't think anyone on the outside thought that this looked like a match or was a match to me. And period. I don't think they thought we were aligned. So I don't know what delusion I was in my head, but he was sort of off the beaten path. He wasn't someone of my normal kind of, I don't really have a type physically, but I have a type in terms of character and spirit and ambition and just energy and charisma, and he was not that for sure. So to me it was like, oh, opposites attract kind of thing. Like, he's different. I don't know what was going on, but the point of this is that I remember when, despite how it looked in my mind, whatever, to him, what I thought it was a solid relationship, quote unquote, if you just looked. Two people who verbally committed, who intentionally said, this is what I want. But he was the first person that did it in a way where immediately, like, he just knew, like, I want this with you. This is what I want. This is how much I want to see you. I remember he wrote it down. You know, this is what I want our time together to look like. These are the kind of things I want to do with you. This is what I can offer you. Not money, but just life. Like, this is what I would like my life with you to look like. And will you start a relationship with me? So from all accounts, it felt like a solid, mature, for me at that time, relationship, which I would now at this day and age call that conscious. Like, I consciously went into that. Now, of course, I know that I really was not completely conscious because I had so many wounds that I was unconscious of. So I was working from an unconscious place, but it was still a conscious decision, if that makes sense. But I knew for sure that I had wounds, and if something was the matter when he did something, and my response was so completely and utterly out of proportion with my feelings for him and the length of time we had been together, despite what the relationship was or was called. So it cracks me up these days that people think because they have a title, that's going to put them in a deep place with someone. Or I know people who are married and don't have deep relationships with their partners. I know people who have been married for years who don't have deep relationships with their partners. I know people who are in relationships where they're not married. They don't have the title and they don't have deep relationships. They hide things. They don't share everything. They're walking on eggshells, and they're still just trying to show what they believe is the best version of themselves, just to have this perfect picture. And I know people with the opposite who have long relationships, married or with or without the title, and they do have very deep and rich, evolving relationships with their partners, because relationships are not static. They grow. And that's, to me, the challenge. The challenge to me has never been to find someone that I like, that likes me, that's attracted to me, that we both think the other is dope. The challenge is growing relatively at the same pace. You're not always going to be at the same exact place, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, but you could kind of like, okay, I take a few steps forward, you take a few steps forward. It could be like this for a little while. But when there's a large gap, if I outgrow someone or what have you, then it does not work anymore. And that tends to be what happens for me because I'm constantly seeking and evolving. And a lot of people say static once they reach a certain level of success financially and otherwise. They think, oh, I've made it and that's it. That's the extent of their growth. And that doesn't sit well with me because I have other areas of my life that I value more: spiritual, mental, emotional growth and health and well-being, which is what this podcast and my newsletter and most of my work is about, including business growth and brand development, all the other things I do on the business side of my life. But I remember for certain that I knew in that moment that, wow, this doesn't match. I was able to check myself. A part of me was able to see what was going on despite my pain in that moment. Like, wait a second. This response and how I'm feeling so horrible does not match, A, my feelings for him, B, does not match the length of time we were together. They were completely out of proportion with what was actually the reality of life. And for some reason, despite my so-called feelings for him, I was able to see, no, something's the matter. And it was that moment that I knew I had abandonment issues. I don't know if I even had the words, but I was able to quickly, like, my mind came online, like, no, this makes zero sense. In the midst of this, whatever was going on between he and I was able to, I don't know what part of me was able to see that. It was like a third party, like a mediator, but it was me. Because I was reviewing my own self and, probably feeling sorry for myself and things like that. And I just remembered, like, wait a second, this doesn't match. It does not match this man. Nothing about him and nothing about how I feel, nothing about who he is, nothing about how he's being. Like, what are these tears? What is this pain for this man? Like, it was just bizarre. Like, not to downplay him, but it was just like, no, this is not for him. These feelings are not for him. And he did not cause this level of what I'm feeling, because I don't even feel that deeply for him. Because in my experience, that feeling didn't start with today. That feeling started in somewhere else where I don't even have a memory of it. I don't even know, if it was this lifetime, another lifetime. A lot of times it was this lifetime. It started somewhere else. This is why you have people trying to address early childhood trauma, which may or may not be helpful for some people. I don't have a memory of a lot of my childhood, which is weird. And that's how I know. This is when I started to realize, I have real trauma, when I was seeing therapists, actual therapists, licensed therapists, and also healers, spiritual healers and things like this, energy healers. Because I don't have the memory, but the feeling is still there. The feeling of being abandoned, the fear of being abandoned, the feeling of being scared, the feeling of always having to be worried. And then all of those things that happen as a result of fear and abandonment. You start to be hyper vigilant. You start to want to be a perfectionist. You start to, everything always has to be right. The moment anything goes wrong, you lose your mind, like your life depends on it. This is all from abandonment. So I'm not unique, but I don't have the memory, thank God, of a lot of things that happened to me, but my body has the memory. So you get to the point where you realize, and I was able to see clearly with him, this did not originate here. It did not originate here. I don't know where this started, but this man is not the one causing this. He's the one reminding me of it and making me see clearly. And yeah, I probably don't want anything to do with him because he's also not the right person for me and a good person, right? He's not a good guy. Like, he's not a right person for me. He's not operating in integrity in all of these ways. But this feeling that I have in response to noticing that, the feeling that makes me want to hold on or make it right or just continue on. I don't have the memory of a lot of the particulars of the things that happened to me. For instance, my mother left when I was 4. Do I have the memory of her leaving and walking out the door? No. Is it factual that she left when I was 4? Yes. She was not there. She was gone. My family adjusted. I know this. The stories have been told. I don't have the memory of exactly the moment that I ran out the door. or ran out the house, or the things that led up to it when I ran away from home at 16. Do I know that this happened for sure? Yes, it happened for sure. These are factual things that happen for sure. But the details of the moment that they happen are what I'm saying I don't have the memory of. And these have all caused my abandonment and other issues earlier in my life that were still affecting me into adulthood. And so when someone like him that I'm speaking of did something that reminded the inside part of me that they call the inner child, that I didn't even know was there, the inside part of me, that this is familiar, it does not feel safe, or it's familiar and I think it's safe, or I think it's normal. I think it's normal because it's familiar, even though it's the most unhealthy shit in the world. This is what all of this looks like, and this is what we have to start to unravel. I don't think I would have said it that way deeply, but I knew that my response was completely out of proportion with the reality and the person and our actual relationship. It was so out of proportion that it woke me up in a way. Now, I would like to think that was the start of my healing journey, even though I didn't know the words, but I believe it was, even though I didn't know the words, and I still was not healing. That just made me become aware, like, okay, this situation is not for me. And that's where a lot of people start. To me, as long as you're always still pointing the finger, especially in this day and age, everything is about boundaries, which are really important. But most people, they just do their healing, quote unquote, to the extent that they could point to another person or someone else and say how bad that other person is, or how dysfunctional that other person is, or how narcissistic that other person is, or how wounded that other person is. Once they can identify, oh yeah, that person was A, B, or C, and I should not have allowed myself to be treated like that, that means I'm healed. That's what a lot of people think. And maybe that's part of it. I'm not a therapist, but I don't believe that's the whole part of it. Most people stop there because it gives them just enough. I think it gets them out of their shame. It gets them out of their shame and makes them be able to accept, oh, this is why I chose that. All of these wounds that I had that made me choose such a loser like that. Right? Whether you're talking about a woman or a man, whether it made me choose such a horrible human being because of this. So that's just awareness. You're aware. That's not healing. And for a long time, I thought that was healing. But we get to these sort of plateaus each time and we're like, yay, I made it. Yay, I can look back and I can look over my shoulder and I can be happy that's behind me, and I can be happy I made it up another hill and another hurdle. And we think that we've arrived someplace, and we have, but that's still not healing. It wasn't until my healer literally said to me, you have to feel the feeling. You don't even have to say it. You don't even have to name it. You don't have to even have a narrative about it until you are able to sit with the feeling and not just sit with the feeling. Just sit with the feeling fully. And it does not crush you. Most people cannot even sit still. They cannot even sit in silence. They keep themselves busy. They keep themselves so busy because they're avoiding feeling that feeling. That shit is hard. Even now, to me now, when things are upon me, it is hard to sit in silence. It is hard to sit with whatever that is in your body. Fear, and like I talked about in the last 2 episodes, and just being scared, just being worried, just hurt, just being angry, being sad, being all of these emotional things that we're so afraid to feel. That is what healing is. You have to feel the feeling. You have to feel the feeling. And I'll add to that, you have to feel the feeling to the degree that is no longer the place you respond from when someone triggers that wound. The wound, I think, I don't want to say it's always there, but your awareness is always there. Like, oh, because at some point you're like, oh, that would have triggered me in the past. That would have set me off. And then at some point, you don't even notice. You don't even notice until you see it in other people. You're like, wait a second. They just went crazy because they were sitting in traffic. And you're looking at them like, are you serious? Like, this is your emotional response to something so mundane? You are acting like your life is about to just... You can start seeing it in relation to other people. You're standing in line in Target or Whole Foods, and you see people doing something that is just completely operating from some strange wounded place that, like I said at the beginning, is completely out of proportion with what is actually happening. Now, some events in the world are completely in proportion of what's happening, right? We are enraged at what we are seeing, rightfully so. There's such thing as a healthy rage and a healthy anger. It's necessary sometimes, and it's necessary as well for healing, because if you don't feel that, then you bottle it up, then you have this fake spirituality and this fake prayerful life, like, oh, I'm not upset because I prayed about it and God said, no, you could do both. You could feel your feelings and do both, but you don't have to take it out on other people, right? And that's also a marker. When you stop taking shit out on other people, we have got to stop wounding people because we are so unclear about who we are and what makes us tick that we take it out on the world in such unhealthy ways that we're all just wounding at each other. So I just want to say that my friend asked me to do an episode about how, because I too have a lot of spiritual gifts, psychic being one of them, clairvoyant, I should say. I'm clairvoyant, I'm clairaudient, I'm clairsentient. I am clear a lot. I have clear a lot. Clear feeling, clear seeing, clear hearing. I see things prophetically. My next book is going to be about that. I dream prophetically. I have psychic, what people would call, I hate that word, psychic, but psychic dreams. I see into the future, my own and others. So I have spiritual gifts, but this has been going on a long time and way before I was healed. I probably has been going on since I was a kid. I was born like this, but I just wasn't paying attention, or I thought it was normal. So I just wanted to point out, just because we have spiritual gifts, just because we have prayerful lives, just because, and those things can help us. Those things can help us sit. Meditation can help you sit in your silence, which helps you sit in your feelings. But a lot of people, the moment they start feeling uncomfortable in a meditation, they want to get up and they just can't sit in it. And meditation is not for everyone. So I'm not saying that's one of the things, but I'm saying those things, I realized even for me, they were steps. They were stepping stones to what ultimately became my awareness of what healing really meant. And at that point, it felt like, oh, this is all it is. Meaning it's simple. Just feel the feelings. That idea, just feel the feeling. That seems so simple. So when I first heard it, it's like, oh, that's so simple. But it's not. It's the hardest thing that you'll probably ever do. But it's simple in that it's not a lot of hoopla. But had I not built the capacity all these years with all these other disciplines, I would not have had the capacity to even face my feelings and sit in what I know was these moments and experiences and use tools to actually help me get to and start to really heal. So do not confuse spiritual gifts, no matter how great in yourself and in other people, because it's easy to become spiritually arrogant, mentally arrogant when we realize we're smart and ambitious and all of these things. Physically arrogant when we realize we're capable at all of these things. Emotionally arrogant when we realize other people lack the same emotional intelligence as us. It's easy to get really arrogant and flex and become a snob in all of these ways, spiritually, religiously, your prayer life. And even in social media, people are like, look at God. Look, I hate that. I hate that. No, don't look at God. He's already in you. He's looking at you. You're looking at him. Let that be between you. When you use it as a flex, like, look what God did in my life and he didn't do it in yours, that's just dividing people, and it's unnecessary, and it's kind of disgusting, and it's not what God is about, which is about unity and oneness in ourselves and with our brother and sister in the world, our brother and sister, our human brother and sister, our cosmic brother and sister, not just our bloodline and our family. So, and when you start to be on your healing journey and you work with other people, whether it's a therapist, therapists themselves have to see therapists, right? And that does not mean they are healed. So they could be experts and skilled at helping you or giving you tools, does not mean they've done it in themselves. So this is when you cannot seek false prophets. You cannot seek, this is when you really have to learn how to, at some point, the only authority is you. It's going to become you and God, because everybody can only take you but so far. That's all I wanted to say. Hope this is helpful. Thank you for listening. If you are interested in journeying with me a little bit further or a little bit longer, there are a few ways that you can do that. One of the ways is my leadership course. It is called Feminine Leadership, Leading from the Inside Out. It is a mini course. It is self-guided. It is soft. It is gentle. It is easy. You can do it anywhere. It's a PDF. You can download it. It is not the traditional leadership language mumbo jumbo. It's not heavy hitting. It's not heavy, it's not heady, and it's easy to download, and it's on Gumroad. So wherever you are listening to this podcast, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Podcasts, wherever you are, in every episode you will see an episode description. Beneath the description, down below, but before you get to my bio, which is all the way at the bottom, Between those two areas, you will see a bunch of links. Amongst those links is the link for Feminine Leadership, Leading from the Inside Out. You can click there. It will take you to Gumroad, and you can download it right now. It's priced at $37. Quick and simple, easy, breezy. If you're interested, check it out. I also have a book, Awaken the Brand by Suhaila, Unleash Your Personal Potential Through Building Your Brand. I like to say this book is personal development meets brand development, powered by spiritual intelligence. So whether you have an actual business brand or just a personal brand that's also a business, or just a personal brand that's just you. I define a brand as a promise. So whatever that is for you, it does not have to be a business that is a business where you are generating money or trying to generate money. It's just about how we show up in the world through our businesses, through our brand. I'm really using brand as a path to higher consciousness. That's really what it is. I'm using business and brand as a path to higher consciousness. I use that word because it's something that everybody understands, but it really literally is also a business and brand book. So however you want to look at it, however you're approaching it, whether it's for yourself personal, whether it's for yourself because you actually have a personal brand like you're a public speaker, or whether you're a thought leader and you actually are building a personal brand, or that is your business, or whether you have an actual product service brand. It's for everybody. So you can also check that down below. I have another course. It's also called Awaken the Brand. It's what the book came from. The course came first, the book came second. So you can check that out below. That's on Teachable and Gumroad as well. And then I have a newsletter called Spark by Suhaila, and it is on Substack. Those are all of my offerings. If you're interested in any of them, you will find them below. Have a wonderful day. Sending you light and love.